Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The rising Croatian prospect Filip Hrgovic will make his US debut against Gregory Corbin on May 25th. This will be on the Alexander Usyk and Carlos Takam undercard, which is in the fight card is in Maryland, USA. So we'll get to the press release here and then a few thoughts, because it's not a bad first fight to expose himself to a new audience, but maybe not the opponent I was hoping for. This was something I didn't really sort of expect, but yeah, it's not terrible, so we'll get to this. But the press release reads, so unbeaten talent faces Greg Corbin in Maryland. So the first bit, well, we've effectively gone through that. Olympic bronze medalist joins a blockbuster bill in Maryland, headlined by former undisputed cruiserweight champion Alexander Usyk, the winner of the inaugural World Boxing Super Series tournament, who makes his heavyweight bow against Carlos Takam. It's an interesting way to put it, heavyweight bow. Hrgovic returns following a one-sided points victory over Kevin Johnson in his hometown of Zagreb, and is eager to showcase his skills in front of an American audience as he continues his quest for world glory. The Croatian boxing sensation will take on Dallas-born heavyweight Greg Bad News Corbin, 15-1, 9 KOs, whose only previous defeat has come at the hands of former IBF world champion Charles Martin. I am pleased that my promoter Team Sauerland has made an agreement with Matchroom and DAZN that will enable me to fight in America, said Hrgovic. I believe DAZN is the future of boxing, and I'm sure they will give their viewers the best matchups in the history of the heavyweight division. I'm looking forward to make my American debut on May 25th. I'm very excited because the entire heavyweight division is moving to the US, and the US is the best place for big fights at the moment. I think American fans will love my style because I'm not a classic distance fighter. I'm constantly trying to fight and throwing many punches. The fans can expect some excellent fights from me. My opponent Greg Corbin is very good, and I think he's an excellent choice for this stage of my career. I will prepare for this fight as if it were a world title, so I'm sure it will be a great matchup. It will be a good test for me because he is more experienced than me. We can see that from his record, and I believe he will come in best possible shape, so it will be an exciting match for viewers around the world watching on DAZN. I'm currently in training camp in Miami. We always train like it's a fight for the world title. Pedro Diaz insists on discipline and hard training. He refuses to work with fighters who are not 100% focused. We share the same opinion about that. That is why we're a good team, and I think we can achieve big things together. And now we move on to Gregory Corbin saying his piece, I'm looking forward to getting straight back in there on May 25. This is a big chance for me to redeem myself after the Martin fight. There were a lot of distractions for me in the build-up to that one, but this time I'm fully focused on Hrgovic. There's a lot of hype around this guy with his amateur background and his start in the pros. Let's see if he can back it up. Filip Hrgovic is an incredibly talented fighter, and this could be a breakthrough year for the young Croatian, said promoter Eddie Hearn. His amateur pedigree is outstanding, and I share Team Sauerland's excitement about his future. He's going to be a real player in the division. American fight fans are in for a treat. On May 25, they will witness a future star of the heavyweight division, said Hrgovic's promoter Nissa Sauerland. Filip Hrgovic is on a fast track for heavyweight gold. And that concludes the Matchroom press release announcing Filip Hrgovic's first fight in the United States. It's going to be Gregory Corbin on the Alexander Usyk undercard May 25th. Now, some of the reason that this surprised me that this fight had been made was this potentially, it could end up being somewhat similar to the Charles Martin fight, and that is exactly what Filip Hrgovic and his team and Eddie Hearn do not want. And if you haven't seen that fight between Corbin and Charles Martin, which was, only a month or so ago, it was a dreadful fight. Gregory Corbin, he showed he's got a good sort of pair of whiskers against Martin, who was banging him throughout that fight, but Corbin was dreadful. He was holding on, ultimately disqualified for excessive holding. And that is something that Filip Hrgovic does not need for a first fight in the United States. So if Corbin is playing spoiler and trying to shut down the action, constantly holding, this could end up being a bit of an ugly fight and not necessarily the sort of statement that he wants to make. I would have thought that they would have gone for someone who potentially is a bit defensively open, but still, throws their hands, someone who Filip Hrgovic can sort of pick apart. And he may be able to do that to Corbin to some extent, but if Filip Filip Hrgovic is getting anywhere close to Gregory Corbin, he's going to tie up. We've just seen that in the Charles Martin fight. He's going to play spoiler, and in that fight, I think it was something like he landed about 10% of his punches, and he only threw about 100 punches. It was called off, what was it, the 9th round, something like that. It was not a great fight for Gregory Corbin. Didn't throw a lot of punches, didn't have a great connect rate, and it was a pretty, ugly sort of fight to watch. And if he feels that he's under pressure by Filip Hrgovic, who I think is a better talent than Charles Martin, he's a better fighter in my view, this guy is going places, then maybe this sort of clash is not the best advert for Filip Hrgovic. It remains to be seen, and hopefully it doesn't play out in a similar manner to the Martin fight, but we've just had a preview of what could happen should the referees not be on that. But even if he is, Greg Corbin showed, even after multiple warnings, that he would just revert to type and go back to excessive holding, and ultimately he was disqualified in that fight. And I get that May 25th is only a month away, and potentially, given that this is only announced a month out, they've had trouble lining up an opponent for Filip Hrgovic. This is what this choice of opponent sort of says to me, that they've had a pool of fighters that they've been trying to work through and secure, but they haven't managed to actually find one that they can sort of get over the line here. And remember, Gregory Corbin is 38 years old, probably not really going anywhere in the division now. That was a horrible fight with Charles Martin. I sort of thought after that we wouldn't see him again on TV, just because that wasn't very good viewing at all. It was a dreadful effort. So the fact that he's back on TV immediately, it does surprise me to some extent, but it probably shows that the market for Filip Hrgovic opponents at the moment, because what he's been doing, knocking out Amir Mansour, he took care of Kevin Johnson handily enough. He's had other fights where he's looked very impressive in his short career. He is going places. He's only a prospect in name only, because effectively he is fringe contender level now. And even on, I think it was BoxRec, it's got him rated as something like 14th in the world, or he was recently. But the level of opponent that he's been facing for a prospect has been well above the usual prospect. So he is on a bit of a fast track, and this year could be a very good year for him. But I do have some concerns that maybe this isn't the best clash to have first up if you're trying to make a statement to fans, given some of what we've seen recently from Corbin. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.